everybody, and welcome back to the Nature Cure Summit, where we are talking about the fact that all you need to heal, grow, and thrive can be found in nature, the universe, and within yourself. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Sands, and I have committed to bringing you experts from around the globe through all different healing modalities to really drive home the idea that all you need is some nature and the power within yourself to feel great, live a wonderful life, and a long, happy one. So today I'm super excited to bring you a very special guest. Dajon Ferrell is a veteran who served in the military for over 13 years in the Army National Guard. After experiencing struggles with PTSD due to a military sexual trauma, she worked towards healing and found a path of choosing meditation over medication, which is what we're going to talk about today. Really how to heal your wounds, whether physical or mental, without medication, using the power of your own mind. So she really saw a need for holistic healing modalities among the veteran community, and she used mindfulness training to really help restore and empower them. So she's been quoted, and she's written for Huffington Post. She's worked with the Veterans Affairs, and she's really doing a wonderful job of spreading the message that meditation can help you heal. So Dajon, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, you really have a powerful story, and I think it's very relatable for anyone who's listening who's been through a hard experience, whether they're a veteran or whether they had a rough childhood or they had, something happen in an accident, even lost a loved one or had something happen to somebody close to them. So your message is so powerful, and you're really passionate about what you do. And so if you're willing, I'd love for you to share your experience and what brought you to the point where now you're empowering so many people.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I would love to share. So I basically kind of started out with hippie parents, and my mom was definitely a tree hugger. We weren't allowed to have water guns because they were too violent and all of that. And then my father was a musician, and I ended up craving stability and also wanting to travel, and the military seemed like a good fit. It like offered me adventure, and then I got to be part of something that was bigger than myself, and I really had a heart for service. And so I thought, this is a way I can get paid to travel and to help others and have some new experiences as well. So I joined and enlisted in 2002, and my mom was like kind of beyond herself because she thought I was like becoming a slave to the man and all of this stuff. And my, like, I even had people that had bets on whether I'd make it through basic training or not because they didn't think I was strong enough, but because like I just kind of was raised in this like, you have a voice, speak your truth, be yourself kind of a mentality. And so they were like, there's no way that she's going to just sit and like not speak out, she's not going to make it. And so I have these experiences that I had growing up kind of threaded through my military experience. I remember being in basic training and digging a foxhole, and there was a tree root going through the ground, and I refused to dig through it, and the drill sergeant was like not really happy with me because he's like, you need to cut through it. I was like, I can't kill the tree.
Like, that's like an understatement for a drill sergeant to be not very happy with.
Yeah, I know, right? That was really, it totally is. Like he was cussing at me and just really upset. But I was just like, no. So he made me sit in this foxhole, and it was, literally a couple feet, and for hours, like trying to prove to me, like, see, you need to dig the foxhole deep, otherwise you're going to be really uncomfortable. But I was like, no, I won. This is a training exercise, and the tree lived. And so that's kind of how like it all transpired. And then, we went to weapons training, and they tell you to aim center mass, and I'm like, that's the heart chakra, like, So like,
oh my goodness.
I was definitely a fish out of water, but I made it through, and I ended up finding a career. I deployed as a military police, but I came back and found a career as a graphic designer and a photographer and a journalist. So I got to speak and help others speak through the journalism and speak the stories of the service members. It was really kind of an interesting transition, I guess. And so then I thought, okay, well, I had this upbringing where I felt like I was this unicorn. And then I joined the military, and I felt like that gave me like ninja skills. And so the combination of the two, like I really felt like this like badass ninja unicorn, like I was invincible, and like you put the uniform on and it gives you this like sense of pride and like duty and honor. And so, and they become your family. the military does. It's like a brotherhood, a sisterhood. And so I deployed to, actually I was just on a training exercise in Croatia. And there was a Croatian general, which is like very, very high ranking. And I was off base covering a distinguished visitor kind of a dinner. So it was very kind of informal, just going and covering them, shaking hands and meeting and all the generals and stuff. Well, the Americans, they left to go back to base, and I had gotten there from a Croatian public affairs officer, so they thought that's how I would get back. And the general was drunk, and he decided that I would ride back with him. And so it all basically, getting back from there, everything happened in the vehicle, and I was able to like get away once I was on post. But then I came back to the U.S. and was sharing the story with my boss, and he's like, "You need to speak up." And it was interesting because like I'd never had a problem speaking up as a child, and then here I was like, "No, I can't. Like, this is going to ruin my career. Everybody's going to see me as like that chick."
Right.
It was just kind of like, no, it wasn't an option. And then I started to think about if there was a female soldier I worked with, and I thought if she went over there next year and something happened to her by this guy, like I would feel guilty, or like I could have done something. So anyway, so that's where I decided to speak up, and started to realize that there's more to this life than like that like being in that uniform and being a soldier and being proud of it, because like I started to see the impact and the legacy that I could leave by living an honest and a life filled with integrity, regardless of like whether I was in the service or not. And ultimately that's what led me to the service, was to have integrity and all that. Yeah. And so what transpired after that, my ex-husband was also in the military and was raised in a really small town, and he didn't understand how a man could do that. And so he said, you must have done something to make him think he could do that to you.
Oh, it's the worst possible thing.
I know. And I remember just being like so shocked that this was happening to me and all of these things. And so I went to the VA, and because that's what they tell you, go to the VA and they'll help you. But the thing is they treat military sexual trauma the same that they treat combat-related mental health. And so you go into a room, and I remember I wasn't an Iraq or Afghanistan veteran. And so I checked into the desk, and the lady gets on the phone because she's like, well, you can't be seen here because you're not Iraq or Afghanistan. And I was like, well, I was told I could come because of MST. Like, and I'm trying to whisper because I'm in this room with all these men. She gets on the phone and she's like, we have an MST here. And like, and it just very like,
I want to give you a hug through the internet lines.
I appreciate it. I receive it. So this all happened. Like, there was lots of little things, like when they have to do an EKG. They examined me in my bra, and they left like the examining room door open, and it's the door that people walk by to get into the clinic. And I asked the nurse to close the door, and he's like, oh, they've seen boobs before, and like, so just, I know.
Yeah, it's like, God, that's why you're there, because you had this like violation, and you feel like you're being further violated. That's like really eye-opening for those people who have never been in the military. My husband's a veteran, so I've heard some stories. I've worked with some military wives in my practice, and exactly what you're explaining, like the insensitivity, being treated just like another case, no matter what has happened to you. And that, it's really mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's scary too, because not everybody has like the upbringing or the tools or the resources in their life to know that like they can do something different. So they think this is my only option, to come here and to feel this way and to go through what they call cognitive processing therapy, which is reliving the trauma so that you can desensitize yourself from it. So that means writing out about the assault, talking about the assault over and over and over and over again, so that you become desensitized. So what's that training you to do? And I'm not saying that this process isn't effective in some cases, but for me, I found that it made me feel like my feelings needed to go away. Like, you don't feel bad about this. Let's just desensitize you from it because you're being too sensitive. And that was like mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, and it's not like, coming from my perspective in our line of energy medicine, and like that's the opposite. Like if you're reliving this horrible event and you're giving your attention to it, then you're kind of like having it be a self-fulfilling prophecy almost to, bring more of that to you, coming from energetically speaking. And unfortunately, that's, the process that you have to go through no matter what your beliefs are.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, I think the eye opener for me was that if I'm feeling this way, there has to be other people. And even if there's just one or two of them out there, because I knew that being in the military that I wasn't the same as a lot of the soldiers, but that's just because that's how they had to perform, and they had to put themselves out like that, And so I started to speak about it, and I started to my own kind of healing journey. I went to Arizona and went through a mind, body, spirit practitioner course, and was like, if I want to learn this for myself, I want to be able to teach it to others. So I'm going to start like learning how to teach it and go through it myself so that I can be on the level that everybody else is, of like, okay, this is all new to me. Meditation, that sounds hard, or whatever it might be. And I even like using crystals and essential oils and things like that. Now it's things that I incorporate when I'm speaking. Even if I'm speaking for a Minnesota Department of Veteran Affairs event, I bring oils and I pass them around and just say, just smell them. And maybe one of them feels good. Just, just see let's just experiment.
Wow, that's pretty. Yeah. So how long after you went through the military, like reprogramming or desensitizing, did you find the mind, body, spirit practice? Was there a gap there?
No, I would say that, trying to think, I think there was actually a couple of years I went to a conference called Celebrate Your Life in Chicago. And they had, a lot of speakers like Wayne Dyer and Carolyn Mace. And she talks about energy anatomy. And also there was, and I can't think of her name right now, but she wrote a book called A Stroke of Genius. And she talked about how she had this stroke and she couldn't speak. And in that moment, as she was healing, she saw herself rewiring her brain with neuroplasticity. And so I thought, like, this is possible. Yeah. And so but I needed to get past, because I'm kind of a little bit of I need to see results, and I'm a strategizer, and I need to get past the whole, like, the secret kind of version of it, right. just say good things and they will happen. Like, I believe, that there's truth behind that, but there needed to be more science to it. So when I saw somebody talking about like yoga nidra and how when we have these different brainwaves of sleep and how we're not getting that and how can we get that, I started to go, oh, well, I can't go wrong by doing this. And I ended up getting, or at least trying these different modalities. It's not going to hurt me to try them. And I ended up getting pregnant. And so I wasn't able to stay on the medication that I had originally been on. And that was an eye-opener for me, because I was like, I don't want to go back on it. Mm-hmm. And, my family was like, well, if you need it, and it might be good for you and it's going to even you out, because you're too sensitive. And so I realized, like, okay, well, I'm going to try all the things possible. And if I absolutely do need it, then great. It's there for a reason. But it was really hard for me to be on it. And so now when I talk to veterans, I'm very careful to say, like, definitely figure out the right mix for you. And it might be some medication and some meditation,
exactly.
Like, but
yeah, and I think that there's a time and a place for, and even especially if someone's listening right now and you are on an antidepressant or some other medication to help with your moods, or, no matter what it is, it's helping with. It's not like you're just going to stop taking it and then decide to start meditating, but if you do change your mental state, like, there's no medication that's going to change your mental state, right? If you're constantly thinking about how depressed you are or how horrible the world has been to you, there's no medication that's going to change that for you. So I think changing your mindset and changing your mental state through meditation, that can help you to remove some of the need for the medication. And it's a gradual process, and it's different for everybody. So we're not, the medical disclaimer, we're not saying not take your medication, but the tools that you do have. So, like, you always talk about meditation over medication. So let's talk about how you started meditating and what kind of meditation you started doing and how that transformed you.
Yeah, so I started out, I read a quote by Deepak Chopra that said, he talked about rise, pee, meditate. He was like, you get up and you pee and you meditate right away because your brain hasn't like kicked into the human mode of like all the doing. You're still just being when you wake up. And I started to ask people, I was teaching kind of like a beginner's version of just just teaching people how to just try different meditation. And I asked them, when you wake up in the morning, like what's the first thing you think of? And a lot of them were like, oh, got to get my kids lunch ready, or I got to remember to get gas on the way to work, like all these human tasks.
Or I got to grab I don't know how many people watching this right now, the first thing when you wake up, you grab your cell phone.
Oh yeah, right? Exactly. And I started to realize that that was a common thing for me as well. Even having it right before I went to bed, having my phone and checking into Facebook right before I went to bed. And I realized that I wanted to be a lot more efficient and effective with the time that I have in a day. And so, because, you also see those quotes like Oprah has 24 hours in a day and so-and-so has 24 hours in a day. And not to guilt people, because like it's still great to sit and watch TV and read a book. But I realized that I had this time, and a lot of it was being, I kind of imagine my brain as like having these little plugs, and they go into outlets throughout the day. And so, you get in traffic and somebody cuts you off and you plug into that outlet, or you get in an argument with somebody in your family and you plug into that outlet. And so what I felt that meditation was doing for me, and especially by starting with the Rise, P, Meditate, is it was giving me a solid like foundation to create my day so that my day wasn't creating me.
Yeah, being more proactive instead of reactive. I think that's what happens when we pick up our phone. Like the day is ours and it's fresh when we wake up. And then if you start like, picking up and like reading other people's agendas for you, and this is what you need to do and this horrible thing you have to take care of, then like you're right, like the day kind of becomes somebody else's day and not your day, and it's very much less empowering. And I love your plug analogy, because I feel like all those plugs are like sapping the energy out of you, because you can only have so much energy, and like by meditating in the morning you're kind of filling your cup, making you more resilient.
Yeah, and that's what I found for me. So I was still in the military when all of this was happening, and I realized that by lunchtime at work, I just was drained because I was being told that I needed to smile more. And I actually got like counseled on that, like reprimanded, and I wrote it down. And I was like, do you tell like this guy over here that he needs to smile more? Like, and I felt like there was something wrong with me, because here I'm being like told like you're not smiling enough. And so I was
That's
like,
ironic, because I think of all the pictures in the military, all my husband's pictures when he was in the military. Nobody's smiling. They're all looking tough.
I know. And my nickname and my website and everything that I've done for the past 10 years has been Dajon Smiles. And so like I just thought how ironic that now I'm being, you know what I mean? It was kind of like, what's going on here? And so I found that like stopping in my day too, and even if it was taking like, that's really what started to help me figure out what meditation worked for me, is I just tried different things. And one of the practices I did is when I would walk to the office to go back to the printer or to get something out of the supply room, I would look at the hall through new eyes. So I would like pick out different colors or count the tiles, and it sounds kind of like OCD, but it was something that stopped my mind from thinking about my email or I got to call this person back. It just slowed me down, and it was something that I could do while I was walking, or I would step outside. We had a little woodsy area, and I would call it my smoke break. I don't smoke, but I can smoke break, right? So I would just go out and for 5 minutes just listen, like close my eyes and just listen to the birds chirping or the leaves rustling or whatever it was. And I found that like as soon as I did that and I came back in, it recharged me, and it didn't take away from what I was doing with my job. And so I found this closet, because I asked them, I'm like, can we have like a prayer room or something? And they were like, no, that can't happen. And I was like, okay, cool. And there was a woman, I walked into the women's bathroom, and there was a woman, she was pumping in the bathroom, like in the stall. And I was like, can we have a lactation room? And they're like, boobs. Like, no, we don't want to know. Do whatever you want.
None of that.
Yeah. So there was a closet in the armory that these polka dancers would rent out on the weekend, and they stored their polka gear in there. And so I found new place for them to put their polka gear. And we put a chair in there and a sign, and we called it like the lactation meditation prayer room. And so I feel like before that though, I found a closet that had chairs that were stored in it, and I would go sit in there. So I think that like just trying different things for yourself, whether it's, walking or putting on a song and just dancing in your car.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that, like when you're walking through the hall or going outside, like just like being mindful, like, that's just a mindfulness practice, really, like noticing where you are, even if you're eating lunch, like actually chewing your food, like 5 times and tasting all the flavors and seeing the colors and smelling. It takes you out of your head really into the present moment. And I think we get so far away from that in our busy, busy lives, and caught up in what we have to do and what just happened and what we have to do next, that we don't ever like be in the present. And that's really where you're able to have the space to heal.
Yeah.
I love it. So did you get a lot of pushback from your coworkers or other people in the military about this new meditation lifestyle?
I did in the beginning. I mean, it wasn't much pushback. It was more kind of just making jokes and,
Right.
kind of like doing that. But then I started to have these Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. It was a card deck on my desk. And I started to have people pick a card, and they used to laugh at them and everything. And then one day there was this old Sergeant First Class. He'd been in for like 30 years, and his back was bothering him. And he said something about like, no, I am not like giving into this. I am not giving power to this. I am healthy and I am whole. And I was like, oh, that was so cool. And it was so exciting to me. Like I literally wanted to do like a glitter toss in like in my combat boots. like
Awesome.
Like, yes, you get it. And so people started to kind of to do that. And I saw, okay, there's got to be other people like me. So I actually went to the state command sergeant major, and she was in charge of 15,000 soldiers and airmen. And she's very like, this is somebody that you normally just don't approach. And I don't know what it was, but at this point I felt like I had nothing to lose, because I knew that my career I wasn't going to be this 20-year soldier. Everything was starting to shift. I was still depressed and suicidal, or at least having suicidal ideations. And so I went to her and started to be like, okay, I just need to speak about this and help other people. And she said, well, what can I do? And I was like, I just need your rank. Like, help me get something together. And so we started a monthly, we called it like a brown bag lunch. And what I said was, we're going to do time management and stress management classes.
Yeah, and use the M word, right?
Yeah. And so I just kind of like said these things, like I looked up productivity kind of words online and found like what companies wanted to hear. And so I know. I see, I was like a ninja again. Yeah. And so I started doing these monthly and just talking, like I would say stress management, and I would talk about meditation, but I would say, here's a way that we could reframe our day. And I would just kind of use different words. And I found that I started to find my power again and not be ashamed of like who I was, because I was speaking openly. And then also I would see a general sitting next to like a private, which a private's like somebody who's newly enlisted, and a general is the highest. Yeah. And they would be sitting together talking about how they really want to prioritize time with their family. Or whatever, or it might be their faith that they really, have stepped away from, or whatever it was. And I saw like, we're all humans, and that goes to like show, even with PTSD, like civilians, like we're all humans having these experiences, and trauma's trauma.
Right. Wow. Yeah. So right now, so like you go and you do work with veterans now that you're not in the military and I don't know how you say it, former military. Yeah. I always get it wrong when I talk about my husband. I'm like, you're former Marine, you're not a Marine.
The Marines are different.
Yeah. I mean,
they're their own species.
They're always a Marine, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always like, oh, how do I say this? But now you're full-time doing your mindfulness work and also some of your photography and graphic work. So you still are empowering veterans and meeting with Veterans Affairs and putting on workshops and helping people online. So how do you, when someone comes to you or you find somebody who is, suffering and maybe is not at the point where they've actually even explored the idea of meditation, where do they start?
Yeah, that's always really fun, because I always hear things like, oh, I just can't get my mind to be quiet, and and all these things, or it just takes too long. I don't have that time, and I think the first thing I say is like self-love. You have to act as if self-love is like a life or death thing. Like it's a non-negotiable, and you need to just find ways to incorporate it in your day. And that can be, the great thing is it can be anything. And so really what we start to do is just dive into lots of different modalities. So starting even with a card deck, for example. I have this card deck here. It's a compass deck, and so I would have them pull a card. And like this one talks about allow yourself to be fully immersed in activities and experiences that are full of joy. So we talk about what experiences bring you joy, and just kind of start to that dialogue so that they get into that space of, instead of I can't, or it's too much, or that's what I don't understand. Okay, well, what brings you joy? And then if they say, well, being around my children, okay, great. Or whatever it might be, dancing. You can do meditation through dance. You can put on mantras or Bruno Mars or whatever it is, and dance and feel your vibration literally rising. And then when you get to that point, you can just stop and like place your hand on your heart and just be like, and I know that Tony Robbins has an exercise out there that he wakes up in the morning and he immediately thinks of the people in his life that he wants to send love to, and he sends them love. And then he thinks about, okay, this is one challenge in my life. If there was a perfect solution, how would I feel? Not what is the solution, but how would I feel? And then he just kind of like vibes himself up for the day, but he literally takes these like 10 minutes to ground himself. And so I know you say like, where do you start? But I think that it's a matter of like playing with a lot of different, even looking up on YouTube, looking up a guided meditation and just listening to it. There's so many free tools out there.
Well, I love that for the question that you just pulled up on your cards is like, what brings you joy? And it's really interesting, like everybody watching right now, it's really interesting if you think that question right now, just think really fast. And if you don't try to think too hard, you'll know what brings you joy. It'll come right to you. But if you overthink it, then you're going to be like, well, I don't know what brings me joy. Like a lot of times people, I'll be waiting in a waiting room or, just somewhere in line at the grocery store, and I'll just ask them, like, what brings you joy, or what, if you could do anything today and you didn't have any responsibilities, what would you do? And so many people are stumped by that. Like, they're just not really in touch with what brings them joy, or what they like, what they love. And I think figuring that out could be a breakthrough for some people, really.
Definitely. And what's cool about it is like the more, it's a practice, right? So like the more that you get in tune with how am I feeling and what does bring me joy, the quicker that you can shift, out of those spaces of lack, or I still have panic attacks, but like instead of it being an all-consuming thing that now I'm having to heal even these like, and it takes me a couple days to come out of it, or going into that really, really dark place, since I've had practice in different ways of adjusting my vibration and of coming out of that, it doesn't feel so disempowering, and it doesn't feel like I'm a slave to it. It feels like, oh, I'm a human having a human experience.
Yeah, and you've got tools now. Like you have a whole tool belt of tools that you can use, which is, that. And so it's kind of like a safety net, knowing that, well, yeah, I'm a human. You're going to feel sad sometimes, or angry, or, helpless. But then, you have your tools to help you get out of it. You're not, down a hole without a ladder kind of thing. You actually have tools to climb back up. And that's what's really cool. And you actually teach people a lot of these tools. Can you tell us a little bit about your 33-day Vibe course?
Yeah. So the Vibe Raiser course is, like you said, it's 33 days. And what we do is they get a different module every week. And we go through really, the first is just getting in touch with like ourselves and realizing how much clutter and chaos it is in our lives, whether it's in the physical form or it's mental. And so we kind of get clear on that. We go through even a body love part where we talk about the body as our vehicle, and go through some exercises of just recognizing and owning and being like in love with ourselves again. And so there's all these different steps, but then we also, I have some yoga nidra meditations. There are just like some 5-minute like Vibe Raiser quick ones that people can do. And then I also teach some exercises that you can do even like while standing in Target. Like you're in the line and your mind is going, and so like there's all these different little like short little acronyms, because that's one thing that the military was good at teaching. Like, how do you teach a lot of people a lot of information? Okay, all these little acronyms that they can just grab. Oh, my weapon's not, my weapon's jamming up. Okay, there's an actual acronym to help you go through that process, So I would like have these, that's how my brain works now. And I realized that I'm a simplifier. I am a person that likes to take something that takes lots of steps and simplify it. So even with meditation, even though I still like to go and do like the 30-minute sit and the woo, like a lot of times that drives me crazy. And so I've found like other ways to incorporate it. And for me, it's the maintenance, going throughout the day and having those moments where I just go whoop and shift myself back.
Yeah.
Brings so much more
having those quick tools. Because I think that's what stops a lot of people thinking that they need to set aside 30 minutes when they're in a room by themselves and no one can bother them and they don't have to do anything. Like that sometimes will stop people from getting into a meditation practice. So having things that you can do in 5 minutes, or you have a laundry list of things you can pull out whenever you have a fleeting thought, whenever you're feeling down or starting to know that your mind is taking over, especially for moms or people who have a lot of like work commitments, financial commitments, all of these things that kind of like drain you down. To have those little tools and tips that you can actually incorporate throughout your day, I think is huge, because it really is a practice, and it's something that you're not just going to do like today and then all your problems are going to go away. And then it's like going to the gym. You don't just go once. You go every day, because you got to condition yourself, and you have to keep the results. You have to keep going to keep the results, like eating healthy. Like meditation, I feel, it has to be a practice that can be sustainable, and sometimes sustainability means making it easy.
For sure. For me, I have a son and single mother, and work from home and all of those things, and so, but I get it. Like I did have a 9 to 5, and that was the thing. Like I felt like there wasn't enough time in the day. So even beginning with like affirming, like, no, I have more than enough time in the day to get whatever done that I need to get done, because like I'm on a divine mission and I'm fully guided and I don't have to know all the answers. So even just like stopping myself with that helped. I would be sitting cooking dinner and be like anxious, like this is taking too long. Or I'd be like trying to fold laundry and do dinner, and like, like just craziness. And now it's like, okay, I fold laundry a certain way now that like slows me down. And it's weird, because you would think, oh, that takes too much time to fold your laundry that way. But it actually, and this sounds counterintuitive, but it actually opens up more time to me, like more effective and more, I don't know.
Yeah, when your mind is at ease and you're able to like think clearly because you've taken that time to do, even if it's like a laundry ritual you're kind of like right now, you're able to actually focus on everything you're doing and do it more efficiently. That's one of the things I've learned over the past few years is I'm a doer. I do a lot of things, and when I'm able to take that time out of my day to meditate or do yoga or to have that practice, I'm much more efficient in the rest of my day because I have that grounding. And, what's the saying in yoga? Like, if you think you don't have time to meditate, you need to meditate extra time. Like, if you don't have 30 minutes, you need an hour then.
Yeah, it's so true. And I found that now I crave it. So now, and my son knows that, and he actually has his moments. He's 7, and he'll say to me, like, Mom, I'm just going to go in my room. I need some space. Everything's good. And I'm like, okay, I honor that. That's cool.
What an awesome thing to teach young people.
Oh my gosh.
Just think, we had these tools when we were children. Where would we be now? We'd probably be, we'd be like Oprah. We'd be ruling the world. Yeah.
Right. I know. Now's our chance. So like, I'm like, yes. And that's what I tell him too. It's like, you have a choice here. Like you have a choice to feel disempowered, or you have a choice to believe that this person at school saying this about you, that, like to grab onto that or to not, you can forgive them and move on, or you can choose to be upset. But it's okay either way, but that's a choice that we make, And so I think that like even at 7, it's helping me when I teach to him to simplify how I like not take myself so seriously, like when it comes to meditation and all these tools. As adults, it's like we get sometimes just so wrapped up in I'm an adult and I'm so serious.
And sometimes even like thinking about like meditating wrong can just wow, and that's like one thing that like throughout this summit we've had a lot of different experts come back to the idea of meditation, and everybody's had like a different route into it and different tools. And so it's been really refreshing because I feel like the overwhelming theme here is like you're not going to do meditation wrong. And if you do it and you practice it every day, it's going to benefit you immensely in so many ways.
Yeah, and then you'll crave it. You'll be like, like just going out to your car to like maybe pick your kid up, and you'll just be like, I'm just going to take a minute and listen to the song, you know, or whatever, because it just feels like it's filling your cup.
Totally. Oh, awesome. I feel like I could talk to you all day. You're just, you have a beautiful smile. And you're so inspirational. I love it. I just love your energy. We are coming to the end of our 30 minutes, but you know, you have a wonderful free gift for everybody watching to kind of help with everything we've been talking about, like decluttering your mind, decluttering your life. So can you tell us a little bit more about that free gift?
Yeah, definitely. So if you click on the link, all the details will be there for sure. But just to break it down quickly, it's a 7-day Vibe Raiser course. And so each day we go through, we have a soul exercise. There are meditations that you can download. They're on SoundCloud, so you can listen to them on SoundCloud as well, or you can actually download them to your phone. And then there's a Facebook group, but you don't have to join that if you don't want to. That's just an extra support, and you can meet fellow Vibe Raisers. But you can, the course is completely on its own, and there's modules, and it'll take you through. There's also an email that will come to you every day to remind you, to go into that. But it's just basically we break down kind of like it's like a little crash course.
Yeah.
Some different tools to try on. It's very quick and easy, and just like start your day, read the 5-minute thing, and then go on with your day, and just kind of help reframe your day. So yeah.
Oh, wow, that's so generous. It's so beautiful. And I love that, if this resonates with you guys watching, you can put it into practice. You don't have to figure it out. Like, I'll put it all together for you, the 7-day crash course. So the link is right below this video. All you got to do is click on it, enter your information so she knows where to send you the information to. And then it's Dajon Smiles is the website. That's also right below. Wonderful name, especially for someone who was told they need to smile more. And you can all get in touch with her there. She's on social media, so you'll have all those links below. And I hope you enjoyed this. Dajon, thank you so much for sharing your story. I know sometimes it can be hard to share things that have happened to you, but it's so very empowering for so many people. So bless you for doing that.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, you guys, thanks for sharing your time with us today. I really value you and really commend you. Give yourself a pat on the back for taking some time out today to learn something that will improve your life. And I hope that you do join the Vibe Raiser course and really empower yourself and your children to live a happier, healthier life. So have a wonderful day, you guys. This has been Dr. Michelle Sands and Dajon, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey there, it's Dr. Michelle, and I just wanted to commend you and thank you for spending a little bit of your day to do something empowering. I hope that you found value in today's content and that you'll go out and use this new information to improve your life, even in a small way. I want you to open up to the possibility of making today, this week, and this year the greatest possibility you've had so far to improve your life. This is about breaking out of old paradigms. It is about learning the act of living naturally. It's about honoring who you are and allowing all that is good into your life. I promise to continue to bring you educational, empowering, and inspiring content to help you achieve the body you dream about, but more importantly, help you live the life you deserve. Remember, all that you need, you already have. It's right here, in nature and within yourself. So stay tuned for some more value-packed interviews, and be sure to check out all of the resources at glownaturalmedicine.com.